I don't mean they'd leave for a party or a night out. No, they'd vanish, gone without a trace by sunset, leaving me alone in the house. I'd search for them, call their names, but they were always gone, like they'd never existed. It wasn't something we ever talked about. The next morning, they'd be back, acting as if nothing had happened, like it was just another night. But it wasn't. I knew that. I learned that the hard way. It all started when I was 6 years old. I remember that first Halloween like it was yesterday. I was dressed as a witch, excited to go trick-or-treating. But just as the sun dipped below the horizon, I noticed the house felt different. Cold, quiet, too quiet. I ran through the halls, calling for my mom and dad, but no one answered. Panic set in. I thought maybe they were hiding, playing a prank, but after what felt like hours of searching, I realized they were gone. The front door was locked, the windows were shut, and I was completely alone. That's when I found the first note. It was on the kitchen table, written in my mom's familiar handwriting. It simply said, "Rule 1. Stay in your room. Do not come out until sunrise. Whatever you hear, ignore it." I didn't understand then. I was scared, confused, and alone. I didn't want to stay in my room. I wanted to find my parents, but something about the note made me follow the instructions. I took a flashlight and a pillow, locked myself in my room, and crawled under the covers. I thought maybe it was some kind of weird game. I wasn't sure. That night, I didn't sleep much. The house creaked and groaned, more than usual. I heard strange noises, soft scratching at my door, footsteps in the hallway, whispers that I couldn't quite make out. I told myself it was the wind or my imagination, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. Something was in the house with me. The next morning, when I opened my door, my parents were back. They were sitting at the kitchen table, sipping coffee like nothing had happened. I asked them where they'd gone, what had happened, but they just smiled and said I must have had a bad dream. That was the beginning. Every Halloween after that was the same. My parents would disappear just before nightfall, leaving me alone with a note. Each year, the instructions got a little more specific, a little more ominous. By the time I was 8, the notes included things like Rule 2, don't look out the windows, and Rule 3, don't respond if someone calls your name. And the noises, they got worse. One year, when I was 9, the sounds outside my room became unbearable. There were knocks on the door, not gentle but loud, insistent pounding. I pressed my hands over my ears, squeezing my eyes shut, but I couldn't block it out. The voice on the other side was familiar, my mother's voice calling my name. "Ellie, it's okay. You can come out now." She sounded so calm, so normal. For a second, I almost believed it was really her, but the rule had been clear. Do not open the door, no matter what you hear. So I didn't. I stayed under the covers, trembling, until the knocking stopped. I never told my parents about the voice, and they never asked. The years passed, and the game continued. It became a twisted Halloween tradition. While other kids dressed up and collected candy, I stayed locked in my room, listening to the house come alive with things I couldn't see. I became used to the notes, the strange noises, and the feeling of being watched. It was all part of the game, my own haunted ritual. But when I turned 13, everything changed. That year, the note was different. I found it on my bed just as the sun was setting, but instead of the usual instructions, it said, Rule 4, there's something new in the house tonight. Be careful. I didn't know what that meant, but the moment I read it, I felt a chill run down my spine. Something new? What did that mean? I locked my door as usual and tried to settle in for the night, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The noises started earlier than usual. At first, it was the familiar creaks and footsteps. I'd gotten used to those. But then, there was something else. Breathing. I could hear it, low and heavy, just outside my door. It wasn't human. It was too slow, too deep. I pressed myself against the headboard, clutching my flashlight like a weapon, even though I knew it wouldn't help. The breathing moved away after a while, but then came the scratching. It wasn't at my door this time. It was coming from inside my room. I whipped the flashlight around, scanning the walls, the ceiling, but there was nothing. The scratching grew louder, closer, until it felt like it was coming from beneath my bed. My heart pounded in my chest, my throat dry with fear. I didn't dare look under the bed. I was too scared of what I might find. The scratching stopped abruptly, replaced by a soft, childlike giggle. The sound of it froze the blood in my veins. It wasn't me. It wasn't my parents. Something was in the room with me. I backed up against the wall, holding the flashlight out in front of me like it could protect me from whatever was there. The giggling continued, soft and mocking. I whispered to myself, "It's not real. It's just a game." But I didn't believe it anymore. Suddenly, there was a loud bang on the door. The whole room seemed to shake with the force of it. I dropped the flashlight, plunging myself into darkness. The breathing was back, but this time, it was right outside my door. Bang! Another hit. The door shuddered. Bang! The lock rattled. Whatever was out there was trying to get in. I scrambled to pick up the flashlight, but my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. The banging grew more violent, each hit sounding like the door was about to give in. And then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Silence. Pure, deafening silence. I held my breath, waiting, listening for any sign of movement. Then the voice returned, soft and sweet like honey. "Ellie, it's okay. You can come out now." It was my mother's voice again, but this time I knew it wasn't her. I didn't answer. I didn't move. I just sat there, frozen in fear, praying for the night to end. The voice called out again, more insistent this time. "Ellie, don't be scared. It's just a game." My hands were trembling, and I could barely hold on to the flashlight. The voice kept calling, but I stayed silent. I knew the rules. I knew I couldn't open the door. But then, something strange happened. The door. It began to unlock. I heard the soft click of the lock turning, and the handle slowly twisted. "No," I whispered, pressing myself further against the wall, willing the door to stay shut. But it was too late. The door creaked open, just a crack, but enough for me to see a shadow in the hallway. Something tall and thin, its limbs too long, its fingers clawed. It wasn't my mother. The creature stood in the doorway, unmoving, watching me. I could feel its eyes on me, even though I couldn't see its face. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I felt like I might pass out. And then, just as it stepped forward, the first rays of sunlight crept through the window. The creature recoiled, hissing like an animal, and within seconds, it was gone. The door slammed shut, and the house was quiet again. I didn't leave my room until the sun was fully up. When I finally opened the door, the house was just as it had been the night before, silent, empty, as if nothing had happened. My parents were back, sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee like they always did. I stumbled in, shaken and pale, and told them everything. The creature, the scratching, the voice that wasn't my mother's. They just looked at me, exchanged glances, and then my dad laughed softly. "You must have had a bad dream," he said, shaking his head. "Nothing like that happened, Ellie. It was just your imagination." My mom smiled that same strange smile and added, "You're safe now. It's over." But I knew better. I knew it wasn't just a dream. The fear, the things I'd heard and seen, they were real. They had to be. My parents didn't believe me. They never did. And that was the most terrifying part. Now, as an adult with children of my own, I know the truth. Whatever haunted me in that house, whatever played that sick game, it's still out there waiting. And it's hungry. I fear for the lives of my children. I'll never let them go through what I went through. I'll protect them at all costs, even if it means never celebrating Halloween, never letting the night touch them the way it touched me. I don't know if I'll have enough time to finish this. If anyone finds my phone, the password is 2746. You can take anything, just please share this somewhere, anywhere. They can't keep doing this to others. His name is Renan. When I moved in, he seemed like a quiet guy with a black backpack and empty eyes. Never smiled, never left his room after 2 a.m. I thought he was just shy. But last night, while he was in the shower, I heard something coming from his room. Not music, not talking. It was a prayer, repeated over and over, almost like sobbing, in a language that shouldn't exist. I recorded a bit of it. I'm too afraid to listen to it again. There are strange symbols scratched under his bed. I found my name carved into one, written in blood. I didn't know how to react. I freaked out and tried to avoid Renan. Earlier tonight, the doorknob slowly turned. No knocking, no calling my name, just turning, like he was checking if I was awake. I ran and locked the door, pushed the dresser against it. The noise stopped, but now I hear footsteps in the hallway. He's pacing back and forth. Sometimes he stops right outside the door, just stands there silent, then walks back to the kitchen. Except, I heard two voices. One was his, the other, I don't know. It couldn't be the TV. It's impossible. There's someone else here. Maybe more than one. I didn't hear the front door open, much less close. Someone got in, and I don't know how. Renan isn't alone. I don't know what they're planning. I don't know if it's something for me. I never should have found out. I live on the 3rd floor. No one can get in through the window. But maybe I'll have to escape that way. I just called the police. The operator told me to stay calm, said they're sending officers. But I know this neighborhood. It'll take time. Maybe too much time. I tried texting my sister. Just a simple, something's wrong, but the message wouldn't send. Then my screen froze. Not cracked, not glitched, just frozen. Like something didn't want me to speak out. When it finally cleared, all my old messages with her were gone. Like we never talked before. I told myself it was panic, that I was imagining things. But then the lights flickered. Not like a power surge. Every bulb dimmed at once, slow, deliberate, like the whole apartment was holding its breath. The window's too high to just jump. I don't know if I'll make it, so I'm leaving this here. They're trying to break in, pounding, like they want to rip the door off its hinges. If I disappear, I want someone to find this. I want someone to understand what's happening, what they're doing. I can't be the only one. One more time. His name is Renan. We live at 1342 Hollow Creek Drive, Building 3, Apartment 204, Portland, Oregon. He's white, 5'10" inches, blonde hair, and eyes that never blink. He might look harmless, but he's not. Please find them. Rebecca never quite adjusted to the silence after her husband left. Her 6-year-old son Oliver filled the quiet with games, and lately with Charlie, his imaginary friend. "Charlie says hi, Mom," Oliver said, his hazel eyes wide. Rebecca smiled, tousling his hair. "Tell Charlie I said hi back." Charlie became a regular presence. Oliver described his rainbow-colored fur, his flights on midnight blue feathers, and the songs he sang in a language that sounded almost familiar. Rebecca drew Charlie for him, taping the pictures to the fridge. Sometimes, midnight blue feathers appeared on the windowsill, though no birds ever came near the house. At night, Oliver's room felt colder than the rest of the house. Once, Rebecca found a small, perfectly round stone on Oliver's pillow, engraved with a spiral she didn't recognize. One evening, while tidying up, Rebecca found a scrap of paper in Oliver's handwriting. "Spirals turn and feathers fall. Charlie comes when children call." Then things took a darker turn. Oliver's favorite bear, Rupert, showed up with its button eyes gouged out. "Charlie got too excited playing pirates," Oliver explained, his eyes oddly satisfied. Rebecca heard faint whispering sounds from his room at night, too complex for a child's mumble, and the air sometimes tasted metallic, like a storm about to break. Oliver changed. He answered questions before Rebecca finished asking, new things she'd never shared. Once, when a bookshelf started tipping, Oliver steadied it just long enough for Rebecca to reach him. His hands pressed flat against the wood with surprising strength. "Charlie helped," he said, breathless with a too bright smile. Rebecca watched him sleep, searching for the boy she knew. Had her loneliness let something in? Months ago, Oliver would crawl into her lap, giggling. Now, his laughter sounded strange, echoing in the cold air. One night, as she tucked him in, Oliver whispered, "Charlie says you're sad, Mom. He can help you too." Fear prickled at her skin. Rebecca looked for reassurance about imaginary friends, but found only anxiety. Nothing matched what was happening. One evening, Oliver grabbed her hand tightly. "Mom," he said, voice flat and unfamiliar. "Charlie wants to play with you now. He says you're much more interesting than me." A chill ran through her. "Oliver, that's not funny." "Charlie doesn't like being called not funny," Oliver said, his eyes dark and ancient. The air grew heavy, metallic, and she caught a faint scent of feathers and old leaves. "Where is Charlie, Oliver?" Rebecca asked, voice trembling. "I need to talk to him." Oliver tilted his head, a wide, cold smile spreading across his face. "Silly Mom," the deeper voice rasped. "You've been talking to Charlie all along." Rebecca stepped back. "No! Oliver, stop this!" The entity chuckled, a dry whispering sound. "Oliver was just the easiest door. He even drew me pictures, so helpful. But you, Rebecca, you tried so hard to understand me. You invited me in." Charlie had never been just imaginary. It had always been Oliver, or what wore his skin, testing boundaries, grooming her, the real target. "Now," it whispered, sliding off the bed, Oliver's body moving with unnatural precision. "Let's see what games you know, Mom." Rebecca rushed toward him, but the air thickened, her limbs heavy as if wading through fog. Oliver, no, the thing inside him, stood perfectly still, head tilted, eyes fixed on her. The room seemed to hold its breath. The spiral on the stone glowed faintly in the moonlight. In that moment, Rebecca's love surged stronger than her fear. She remembered Oliver's first laugh, the way he'd once clung to her after nightmares. "Oliver," she pleaded, voice trembling but steady. "I love you. I will always love you. Come back to me, darling. Please come back." For a heartbeat, the thing in Oliver's eyes flickered, something childlike, lost, almost reaching for her. Rebecca knelt and opened her arms. "You're not alone. I'm here. I always will be." A single midnight blue feather drifted down from the ceiling, catching the light. Oliver blinked, his eyes clearing, the ancient darkness receding. He stumbled forward, burying his face in Rebecca's shoulder, sobbing. The room grew warmer, the heavy air lifting as if a storm had passed. Rebecca held him tight, rocking him gently. "It's all right, love. You're safe now. I've got you." Later, Rebecca found Charlie's drawings on the fridge. The colors faded. The spiral, once drawn in every picture, had disappeared. Midnight blue feathers still appeared sometimes, but only in the garden, where Oliver would laugh and chase them, free and bright as ever. And at night, when Rebecca tucked her son in, there were no more whispers, only the peaceful, steady breathing of a child finally at rest.